If it's one thing MAGA loves, it's America. Because at least you know you're free. You got freedom. That is unless, of course, you attempt to overthrow the government and install a right-wing dictator. Or, hey, if you, try to install any sort of dictator, you're generally, the rest of America is not going to look kindly on you, as well as the law. And if that happens, well, then you got to go. I mean, you got to go. Now, of course, the question is where do you go, right? If you love America so much, or I should say, if you pretend to love America so much that you try to overthrow it, and then it fails, where do you go? What happens? Do you head to a place more in line with your values? I can think of a couple places where these MAGA, these MAGA chuds belong. Maybe Iran. Hey, they have a fundamentalist government, religious. They repress women, they hate gay people. You'd love it. Oh yeah, scary Muslims. Shoot. Saudi Arabia is kind of the same thing. Again, the problem with the scary Muslims. All right. What about China? Very repressive government. Oh, right. China, communist, of course. Russia, maybe. What about Africa? Plenty of places to go that are Christian and conservative. You might fit in pretty well in some of those countries that, again, outlaw homosexuality. They, kill gay people, or at least they try to pass laws that allow you to kill gay people. Oh, wait, there's another problem for MAGA people. Filled with black people. Of course. And we know MAGA, not a fan of black people. So there's not really a lot of places you can go if you're a MAGA chud that tried to overthrow the government. Now, why am I talking about this? What is the purpose of me listing off places where a MAGA chud would try to go? Well, it turns out that one MAGA rioter tried to get out of the country after January 6th, after the complete and utter failure for them to achieve their objective of installing Donald Trump into a second term. And of course, where that MAGA rioter tried to go was actually in Europe, which is an interesting choice. Switzerland, to be sure. Switzerland was the choice. Now, Switzerland's an interesting choice, although when you think about it, not too bad. I mean, yes, it's overwhelmingly white. They got a lot of guns, but, it's also kind of socialisty too, so when you think about it. But, hey, I like Switzerland. Their gun laws are actually quite strict. They do require compulsory military service in order to have those guns. And, of course, you have to keep guns and ammunition quite separate. Again, they've got some strict laws. They've also got universal health care, a form of universal health care that involves nonprofit or not-for-profit health insurance companies. And so, yeah, universal health care, a little socialisty, not a bad place. Not a bad place. But again, MAGA supporters, they don't see any of that other stuff, especially about the gun ownership. They're like, oh, all Swiss people own guns. Great. I'm going to go there. Well, you've got more regulation there than you actually do here in some states in America. So yeah, good luck with that, right? So this guy thought, I don't know, I'll go to Switzerland, mainly for the purpose of they didn't believe that they would extradite him to the United States. Too bad for him. He ended up getting caught before he was able to book a nice skiing vacation in the Alps. CNN is reporting that Judge Emmet Sullivan on Wednesday ruled that a MAGA writer and professional geophysicist Jeffrey Sabol was the epitome of a flight risk after he had tried to book a flight to Switzerland following the riots because he believed the country would protect him. Well, you don't want to be protecting a MAGA rioter. Sullivan also wrote that Sabol should remain in jail before trial due to the violent actions he took against Capitol police officers during the riots. In fact, Sullivan wrote, he had stripped a vulnerable police officer his police baton. He then used that stolen police baton to force another officer away from his post and into a mob of rioters, proceeded to viciously attack him, leaving him bleeding from the head. And after being apprehended by the police in February, Sabol declared that he was fighting tyranny at the D.C. Capitol. Maybe not the way that he was thinking. during the riots. And although his attorneys told the court this week that he'd been lied to about the 2020 election by former President Donald Trump, former Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani, and longtime Trump ally Roger Stone. So, well, of course he was lied to, obviously. But it's not like these were lies weren't easily disproven by every credible person, as well as being widely available. I think we know, that what Donald Trump was saying was completely, false. Just flat out, incredibly false. Even Republican secretaries of state were like, we just couldn't find the voter fraud. Believe me, we really wanted to. We wanted to find that fraud, but it just doesn't exist. We tried. We tried, sir. It just didn't work out. It didn't work out, but because of course, it's not actually happening. But this man, along with many others who's from the Capitol, chose to believe them because really, I think for them, it's much more easier to cope with the fact that you've been lied to and gaslit, that, you're actually the bad guy by ignoring reality and thinking that you're defending democracy and that you're actually the hero of the story and not the villain. Because, again, that's what these people believe. No, we're the good guys. We're actually defending democracy. But you tried to overthrow democracy. Yeah, it's because, you know what? I thought I was doing the right thing because I really thought it was a fraudulent election. And so obviously I was trying to save democracy. That's not how it works, buddy. Sorry, not how it works. But I understand this is what the far right has been doing. It's been doing for a long time. It's been using that big lie of voter fraud in election fraud to try to basically keep any and all Democrats or anyone who would challenge them essentially out of power. And the other thing is that they do is they, of course, make right-wing men out to be not only the victims of society, cancel culture, woke mobs run amok, but they also make those same white men somehow the saviors of Western values, of Western civilization. It's some real white savory bullshit. But in terms of right-wing rhetoric and the expectations placed on men to be men, that rhetoric really fucks with somebody's head. All this right-wing manipulation that you get from conservative media, right-wing channels, and things like Jordan Peterson, for example, all of this stuff, it really messes with somebody's head. And you combine that with the fact that men actually are not doing well in this country. I know. Uneducated men actually end up working more of the menial jobs. They're also less educated than their female counterparts. And there are also the issues of toxic masculinity, which actually has a deep impact on men. Because when we're told that we're supposed to be the breadwinners, they're supposed to make more money, we're supposed to be the strong, supposed to be the protectors and all that stuff, when those roles don't really exist, and when people have a really, really difficult time making ends meet as men, so much so that you don't feel inclined to get a partner, get married. That just leads to all of this frustration and leads you right down that alt-right pipeline conspiracy hole. And so lots of frustrated white men. But this man's actions were his own, no doubt. He ended up helping to beat a police officer. I was proud of it. What happened to Back to Blue, right? And then after realizing that he absolutely messed up, tried to run away like a coward, like a little bitch. They're not exactly sending their best, obviously. And in this case, the brightest. He may be a geologist, but he ain't no scholar. That's for sure. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.